On to Stowlord, they're going to start throwing things. So, we'll make our way up to that subject, because it's only right, because there's so many here from Stowlord. And the way we do it, we move on to where we left off in 1932. So you remember? Teddy Brockway was banned, told not to come back again. Then we move on. Obviously, when the council had made that decision, they felt a little sheepish about it. They got a lot of criticism. It took a lot of stick. And when politicians take stick, they act. And a year later, they came up with what they called the 5-year development plan. And in that 5-year development plan, they intended to develop 23 acres at Willenhall Road, 10 acres in Bunkers Hill, 29 acres in Peascroft Lane, and 26 acres in Millfields. And that 5-year development plan, it didn't even cover the number of people that got to move out of slum clearance. So it goes back to what I said. We have never had proper housing policies and plans in this country for years. Here was the council adopting a 5-year plan that they knew full well was going to nowhere near solve the problem on their waiting list and their slum clearance programme. People had got to move. But that's how it was. So then we move on and move on. And now I'm going to tell you about another development attached to Bilston, and this will come just before we get on to Stowlord. In 1939, of course, we had the outbreak of war. And at that time, in Bilston, 1/8 of the houses, only 1/8 of them were council owned. It's a big reversal of that these days, isn't there? But that was how it stood in 1939. And then we come to the big year in Bilston's history. We come to 1943. There was a crisis in housing all over the country. Servicemen were getting demobbed. And they wanted new houses for their family. Divorce had gone through the roof from what it was before the war started. And you know what divorce brings? It brings divided families. And divided families put more pressure on council waiting lists. So the problems were building up and building up. And as you know, in 1945, there was a general election. And it was until that general election that some genuine effort was made to do something about it, getting a constructive overall policy on housing. And what sort of problems were they tackling? And that brings us down to this wonderful exhibition underneath us. And I think all of you would admit that whoever put that, I won't name individuals, but whoever put that exhibition together has done a thoroughly good job. It's an excellent exhibition, and it tells you so much. So there we've got downstairs we've got the outline, we've got the ideas, we've got the vision of Dr. Newrath that was brought here precisely to help the council to redevelop the town. But before that happened, a man arrived in Bilston. He was only 20. He was a conscientious objector. And he worked for the Express and Star. And the Express and Star had a novel idea. They accepted the fact that he was a conscientious objector and he was entitled to his opinions. And they said to him, "We're prepared to offer you a permanent job in Bilston, provided you don't let your politics and your feelings enter into your job." He agreed to that. He was only in his 20s. So he accepted this post. And his instructions were, watch the people of Bilston, keep your eyes open for everything that's happening around you, make it into an article. Make sure that we know exactly what life is like for ordinary people every single day of the week, Sunday to Sunday. This he did. And he went to live in Wolverhampton Street. Wolverhampton Road, sorry. I know that you all know Wolverhampton Street. But he lived in Wolverhampton Road, and Wolverhampton Road then was part of Wellington Road. That's where he went to live. And he started writing these articles, and they were sensational. He started off by writing about an experiment that was taking place in Bilston that had never taken place before. It was an experiment to check on the atmospheric pollution, an experiment to find out what people, man, woman and child, was breathing every day of their lives in Bilston. And the council had an officer named Sheldon. And he was given responsibility for conducting this survey. He did the survey, Clement Jones did the reporting. And what he came up with was sensational. And it all goes back to what Fred Brockway was saying. And in a minute, I'll find that damn record. Got it. It was in May 1944. And these are the facts that I came up with. And remember, you would have been children then. But you, and your parents, your grandparents, this is the type of atmosphere you would have been living in from day to day. These were his findings. That's all right, that's okay. He found out that per acre, people were breathing in polluted air that could probably harm their lives. He made no bones about it. That survey proved it. The instruments were placed all around the town. Checked them daily, checked on their findings. And other towns Wensbury, Darlaston, and all the other towns around the Black Country watched this survey with interest because they had atmospheric pollution problems as well. But what was revealed in Bilston was absolutely staggering. And he wrote an article for the Express and Star revealing the details. And it really shook the town. They wondered, they said, well, why do we have to breathe this sort of air every day? Why don't the authorities do something about it? Well, obviously an article by someone as powerful as Clement Jones was becoming by then, his articles were becoming famous, carried some weight. So he carried out that experiment, but it was the one after, the one you've all been waiting for, that was to take the biscuit. Because he decided to follow up the findings of Fenner Brockway in 1944. He decided to examine the facts behind what Brockway had said and the description that he'd made of houses in Bilston being unfit for human beings to live in. And this is what he came up with. And this will shake you, because he was probably living in one of them. He found out that in the town, which had a population then of 31,000, not 34, it didn't reach 34 until 1961 when we had the campaign against Wolverhampton. He found out that the borough had 7,700 houses. Okay? You happy with that? Of those 7,700 houses, 2,655, a third were totally unfit for habitation. In his article, in his view, people should not have been living in them. And take into account, that's on top of what he'd already reported about the pollution. So add that to the awful conditions that people were living in, 2,655 families, it's quite a sensational report, isn't it? $1,176 had no proper sanitation. No indoor water supply. And 708 of them were totally and dangerously overcrowded and likely to lead to serious accidents such as fires and things like that. People sleeping 6 to a bedroom and all that sort of stuff. Imagine what that did to the local authority. You remember how they responded to the 1932 report? He wrote that article about Bilston's houses on the 13th of September. On the 14th, he received a letter from Bilston Council. This takes some believing. And the letter praised him and thanked him, told him what a marvellous report it was. It was opening a whole new vista for Bilston people. They were finding out what the town was like. Who was it from? It was from the council's sanitary inspector. Now, it don't take a lot of stretch of imagination, does it? If you're employed as a sanitary inspector, one of your top duties has surely got to be to make regular inspections of properties to find out what conditions people are living in. Now, if this young reporter could find out, how was it that a man that was fully employed to do that job didn't know? I mean, it's perfectly clear. He wrote that letter. And that's one of the things, another one of the things, that's slowly leading us to this exhibition below. And then, of course, that same reporter, he did the big one. He did an interview with Dr. Newrath. He called his article, Happiness Without Slums. And Dr. Newrath outlined his plans. We'll be talking about them later. You know, they were revolutionary. You know, his attitude towards slums. That the problem could be slowed, people could be put in proper, healthy houses where they could live a happy family life. That was his vision, that was his policy. And he did this interview and opened up his ideas. So now we've got the link between 1932 and Dr. Newrath coming to Bilston. The next big movement that Clement Jones reported on was one of the most outstanding incidents, not only in Black Country history, but in national history. There was a by-election in Bilston, and the result shook the nation. At the time, elections weren't held, not in 1944, because all the main political parties had agreed on a truce. So when the Bilston MP suddenly died, causing this by-election, everybody thought the same thing had happened that had happened in all the by-elections. The policy was, if the Conservatives held a seat and one of their members died, they could nominate a Conservative. If it was a Liberal seat, the same thing happened, they could nominate, and so on for the Labour Party. So everybody expected that this by-election would take place and there'd be a foregone conclusion, except for one person. And his name was Arthur Eaton. And he forced an election. It was very unpopular because it was just at the time that we were starting the Second Front. There was a shortage of paper, shortage of everything. And people thought, well, why are we having this by-election when we've got so much on our plate at the moment, with shortages of food and all this? Anyway, he went ahead, definitely determined to fight the election. What did he fight the election on? One of his main platforms was the plans of Dr. Newrath. One of his other main platforms was the squalor that people were living in 3/4 of the properties in Bilston. Those were his two main elections. And he said he stood for change, that the people of Bilston needed something better. He lost the election by 359 votes, and it was a sensation. It was even raised 2 days later in Parliament. Everybody wanted to know what had happened. Where is this town, Bilston, in Staffordshire? What sort of people are they that they settle for a result like that? They had a chance to vote for a candidate of Winston Churchill's national government. supported by the Labour Party, supported by the Liberal Party, and supported by the Conservative Party. But the people of Bilston had other ideas. And they voted for Arthur Eaton. And I believe that they voted with it because they wanted to put in a protest about the living conditions that they've been living under and what Frederick Brockway had described in 1932. So, you see, this man, Les Jones, was a very important figure, and nobody ever mentions it. His report on that by-election was so impressive, he got a flood of officers from London newspapers. Come and work for us. Never mind the Express and Star, we want you here. He refused it. He said no. He got his family settled here, his children went to Ettington School, and he was quite happy.
I delivered his mate.
Pardon?
I delivered his mate as well.
Yeah. Anyway, as you know, I'll put a long story short, he eventually went on to become editor of the Express and Star, and what an editor. He made that newspaper the best provincial newspaper in the country. He really did, and he based it on the type of reporting that he'd done in Bilston and learned this hard trade here in this town. So that's Clement Jones. Also at that time, just after that, the News Chronicle put on an exhibition in Birmingham at Bourneville. You all know about Bourneville, chocolate. They got a chocolate village. They call it the Chocolate Village. It's there for the employees. They've got greenery, lovely houses, plenty of space, plenty of amenities. That was the type of development that Dr. Newrath was talking about. So the News Chronicle put this exhibition on at Birmingham, and it was chaired by Peter Cadbury, you know, from the Cadbury family. What was the subject? The subject was that we want to announce that Bilston Council are going to adopt the ideas and proposals of Dr. Newrath, and they're going to start them at Stowlawn Estate. They're going to build a complete village to his image, what he felt was the right type of development for people being moved out of slums and for people on the waiting list. Now, take out your imagination, Bilston was a small town, a little borough, but a powerful paper like the News Chronicle was so intrigued what was going on in this town that they put an exhibition on in Birmingham about it. And at that exhibition, they had people from Wednesbury, you know, officers and officials from Wednesbury, Darlaston, Tipton, all coming along. Well, what's happening at Bilston? Well, you know what was happening, and you know what the proposals were. Most of you who live in Stowlawn, you live in a green, don't you? How many people here live in a green? Put your hands up. Who lives in a green? Anyone? Yeah.
Lives in a green.
I live in Clement Church, I've already agreed down there.
In Church Green.
Church Green, yeah.
Auckland's Green.
Have you ever thought why you live in Broadway Green, Church Green, Green Park Avenue? Have you ever thought, well, I live in this street. I don't know the history of it. I mean, other people in Bilston, they live in streets. Gosling Street, Tate Street, Fraser Street. Why is it that I live in Stowlawn and I live in a green? Because greens were the centre of Dr. Newrath's dream of an ideal estate. You had to have greens. Without them, you couldn't create the village type of life that he wanted to see established in Bilston. I'm sorry I keep looking at that, but I'm under instructions. And that's how we come to your development, which you're all so interested in. And I'm afraid I'll have to pick up on question time because we're going to have a break. But unfortunately, as you all know, sadly, before he could do anything about seeing his dream come true, he died suddenly. And he was never to see the end product of what he believed in. Fortunately, his wife was also Viennese, I believe. She wanted to ensure that what he believed in was carried on. So she came over to assist. And as you know, they agreed to put an exhibition on in Oxford Street. And that's where all the trouble started. They selected a shop in Oxford Street, which was the worst place they could ever selected, because it was bang in the middle of the infamous New Town, the worst area in Bilston. Nevertheless, they went ahead and they set up this exhibition. Dr. Nura's wife came to help. In the question part, we'll go into that exhibition, what it was aimed to do. It was a shame. The man behind it all, we'd lost him. Nevertheless, the council was determined to go ahead. And when we come back, we shall come to 1946. And that's when the whole thing started to go wrong with the BBC broadcast. Okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom, I missed